Hello Internet, welcome back to Stoneblock 3. We are making some progress and I'm very excited to show you what it is that I have been up to in between the last episode and this one. So the first thing is you're going to notice right straight in front of me that we've actually got the warped and crimson mushrooms growing because I do actually have some netherrack. I kept digging and digging and digging and digging. It's way the hell out here. I actually went all the way through the nether ring and got into the end ring. It took forever to do. I have not explored any of the dungeons or anything along the way. We've still got a few that we're going to go do at some point soon. Probably soon. Definitely soon we'll go do those. But we do have some actual endstone. I collected a bunch of the endstone. I collected a bunch of the netherrack and got them all in there. I also went ahead and kidnapped a piglin because he was in my face and wouldn't go away. We are going to build our storage system in this episode, but we're going to do that a little bit later. So I want to show you guys the rest of what I've done. I showed you the start of this already. See, I've expanded it a little bit more. I've also added some more steam tanks. You can see back here because I needed more stress capacity, and I thought I could increase the stress capacity for these by adding a second generator to them. I didn't realize that the tank itself has a maximum stress capacity that it generates. So this is 2048, and that stress capacity then gets distributed evenly among all of the engines that you put up. So if I put a second engine on here, I don't get 2 at 2048. I get 2 at 1024. So it doesn't help. So instead, I used the generators that I'd made, and I built additional tanks back there. They're just exactly identical to this. Because the only way that we're going to get more stress capacity out of these boilers is by making them hotter. And we can't do that until we get blaze burners. And I still have not found any blaze, because I think we actually have to go into one of the dungeons in the Nether to find blazes. So we'll be doing that in a video at some point. So you may have noticed that there's another hammer back here. This guy is just making gravel. So this is the original setup that we had where we were washing all of the different materials. As you can see, I've also added one to create soul sand. So we're now getting the nether quartz and glowstone being generated continuously and put into the system. I also have added a crushing wheel that is crushing gravel. So this is where the gravel from downstairs is coming up here, ends up in this drawer, then drops down into the crushing wheels and gets deposited into the barrel before it gets processed. And I've been making use of my precision mechanisms to create a bunch of the rotation speed controllers. I've got them kind of scattered all over the place to let me make things go faster or slower as I need to. So this is actually slowed down because the rest of this section up here is going really fast. But we also had to upgrade our smelting setup because obviously we have more ores coming in from the crushed gravel, because I didn't really realize this at the time, but washed gravel and crushed gravel have two different sets of materials that come out of them. So washed gravel is the copper. It's over here because we're getting a lot of that, so that had to have its own drawer. The copper, nickel, gold, and silver all comes from washing gravel. And then the other 6 here, the iron, tin, bauxite, zinc, lead, and tin. I believe that's tin. These all come from smelting gravel. And what is going on here? We've got, I think my zinc storage might be full. We're going to have to go deal with that. But yeah, so we expanded that and got that all set up. And you can see, obviously, I've got a rotation speed controller here so that we can have the smelting process going a little bit faster. And yeah, this is why I had to increase the amount of stress capacity for my network, because I was actually right at the edge. I had like 100 stress units available. Okay, yeah, we are capped out on zinc, so that is why we are not able to generate any more. So if you've never seen how this works, we need the chest, we need those two like that, and then those, and that gets us the upgrade card. Then the upgrade card just goes bloop right into there, and now we can put more in there, and that should sort out the issue that we were having up there where zinc wasn't going in. How close are we on everything else? We're getting close on iron. We're okay on copper. We're getting close on gold. Should be okay on everything else. So any of these drawers like this one that have the 3 different slots, we have a maximum of 512 items. The items such as copper here that don't have a 3rd slot, we have a maximum of 4.6k. So the fewer different types of items that we have in there, the more available space that we have for everything else. That's why this capped out while this still has space in it, despite this one not having an upgrade on it. Okay. I did end up building one of these no solicitor signs. We're starting to get the wandering traders are coming in, and they don't have anything, and they like to pop up right in my face when I'm trying to work on something. So I made one of these signs. We'll see how well it works. All right. I also went ahead, because this is something that I want to get working towards, is I managed to get a couple of bee nests. So you can see from Wally up there at the top of the screen that each one of these does have 3 bees in it. And I've got a trap door on their faces, so the bees are trapped inside. They can't get out right now. Because I do want to move these, and when we want to set up a proper honey and honeycomb farm. There's a really easy way to get honey with Create, because we can actually just put a fluid pipe. We just hook a pipe up to the nests or the hives, the ones that we make, and we could just pump the honey straight out of it, and the bees don't care. So we don't have to do the whole honey bottle and all that. We can just pull it out as liquid. But in order for this to work, in order for me to put it where I want it in the world, because I don't really want it just floating right here, we need Silk Touch, which I don't have yet. That is where these guys come in. So I installed a light switch, basically. If we do Cheaty Cam and come up here to take a look, you can see that I've got redstone lamps in the floor of each of the spawning platforms. And you can kind of see if we go down here, we've got a redstone receiver under here. You can't see the frequency because they don't render when you're in Cheaty Cam, but they are hooked up to the same setup here. Which it was a mistake to use nether pearls, because I actually ended up nether pearling myself into the holes more frequently than actually setting the frequency. That was annoying, but I can turn the system on and off here, so we don't have a bajillion mobs in there now. But I did manage to, I ran it for a little while longer, and I got ourselves a second zombie villager. I was really hoping he'd go in the boat with that one, but he wanted his own. So, but now that we have 2 zombie villagers, we can make use of the brewing stand that I made. Could you stop hitting me, asshat? I'm trying to help you, you know that? Alright. Man, you guys are rude. Alright, we're gonna let them do their shaky shake, and we'll get back to them once they transform back into villagers. While we're waiting for them, we can show you some more things that I've done. So I obviously expanded the smeltery. There was no real reason for this. I just like to be able to put a whole stack of material into the smeltery instead of having to mess around with doing it in multiple stacks and everything. I finally got around to building myself a coke oven. So we have a fluid container over here. Just made a Create tank to put all the creosote oil into. Because, unfortunately, the only real use for coal coke right now is we can use it to make steel in an induction smelter. To be able to use it in a blast furnace, we need to be able to make a blast furnace, which means that we need magma blocks and obviously nether bricks. These two are the ones that are hard to get. Nether bricks we can get by just smelting netherrack, which is a trip, but it's still doable. Magma blocks, on the other hand, the only way we can get those is by, you know, magma cubes or finding them where they generate. And as far as I know, there are no basalt deltas that have generated. I haven't been able to find one. So I do have an induction smelter, and I've made a bunch of steel already, so we don't really have to worry about that. I also have a sawmill, because one of the things that I want to do is I want to try to find a couple of spawners, because one of the things that we're going to need to do at some point is we're going to need to get blood magic set up. And one of the setups that one of the things that we need for blood magic is a bunch of mobs. Eventually, we'll start off with, and there they just changed back. Okay, well the first one changed, so I guess it's a good thing then that they're not in the same boat, since one of them changed and the other one's still shaking. We wouldn't want him to turn him back into a zombie right away. What was I saying? Yeah, but we're going to need spawners. But the reason that I built the sawmill is because one of the things that we can do through Mechanism is we can actually use these cardboard boxes we can use cardboard boxes that Mechanism has to move spawners around. These guys right here. There we go, now we got both of them. So if we find ourselves a spawner, we can actually pop one of these. I'll show you right here. Boop, just like that. And then we can pick it up in the box, and it'll actually let us move it around inside the cardboard box. Back here. Which is just a little bit easier than having to go where the spawner is to be able to make a farm. Not that it wouldn't be that hard. We could do it, and then it would be able to be shut off, but anyway. We're going to have to go out there at some point and go looking for that, because I would like to get myself a blaze spawner to be able to obviously do the blaze burners, as well as being able to do, to harvest blazing blood. So there's a setup we can do with a smeltery to make a blazing blood farm. I did it in Sky Factory 1. It'll basically be the exact same setup that we had there. Speaking of eggs, the other thing that I did, because we are eventually going to need a bunch of feathers for all of the mob grinding utilities and a few other things, is I went ahead and I built myself one of these little chicken farms. So it's just your standard vanilla chicken harvester farmer thingamajigger, where we've got a bunch of chickens standing on top of hoppers. Back here, the hoppers feed into a dropper, and then each time there's anything in the dropper, it'll fire. So the baby chickens stand on a slab, and if we F3B, you can see that their hitbox is small enough that they fit right there. But as soon as they grow up, their head goes into this block above them. Compare them to the full-grown chickens. So they'll suffocate, and when they die, then their drops end up in the drawer. And a lot of times you'll see this used as a cooked chicken farm, where it'll just automatically make cooked chicken by putting lava in place of that block at the top. But the problem with that is a lot of times your drops end up getting burned up by the lava. And I don't care about the chicken. I want the feathers. All right, so now that we have both my villagers are not hostile now, I hope you feel bad about smacking me every time when I'm coming in here trying to help you. Do you? Oh, thank you. Nice. So what we're gonna do here, I have done a little thing where I added 2 more mods to the pack, which you can probably tell, and they're quality of life mods because, well, I'm sure anybody who's dealt with villagers can agree with me. I put easy villagers in, and I put easy piglins in. So now I can just do this and pick these villagers up, and we don't have to mess around with minecarts and boats and all that other good stuff to get them where we need them to be. It's just a lot easier to deal with them. So I have easy villagers and I have easy piglins, both of which let us just pick these guys up and move them around. Real quick, this is Editing Snowfox, speaking to you from the future, or at least the future of this clip. I just wanted to add that I did remember as I was going through and editing that this pack does actually have the mob tool from thermal series or thermodynamics. It's a mob capture tool that lets you pick mobs up, and you can use that to pick villagers up and move them around. So it's not quite as easy or intuitive as using easy villagers, and it does require the use of gas tiers to make it. But it allows you to do the same thing. And if you're playing this with chickens instead of without chickens, the way that I am, you do have access to gas tiers a lot earlier in the game. That might actually end up being one of the chickens that we do have to make, because I don't believe we'll get gas spawns unless we clear out a big old chunk of that nether ring. Anyway, back to the video. We will respect the vanilla-ness nature of villagers in this pack, because the pack designer does not have easy piglins or villagers in here, so we won't be using any of the actual blocks. We won't use any of these actual blocks, any of the farmer or the auto traders or anything. We'll do it vanilla style for the various farms and breeders and everything, but I am going to be making use of the ability to pick them up, as well as the ability to cycle the trades very easily, because that's the other thing that I don't understand why vanilla doesn't give us some easy way to cycle their trades. It would make sense. Everybody does it anyway, and it's just a pain where you have to break it and plate it down, wait for them to figure out that there's a job station for them. We might end up having to use some of the blocks because it's really hard to notice, since obviously we're in a stone world, but time is frozen. Like, this clock will never change, and I have not messed with the time progression. There's a game rule that allows you to freeze time. I did not mess with it, so the pack designer messed with it. But there is also something funny going on, because if we come over here to a bed, like, it's noon right now, right? I'm allowed to sleep, despite it being noon. And now that I've slept, time is still frozen. It is still noon. It is not reset back to the morning like it should have. So there's something funky going on, and I don't know how that's going to mess with villager trading. Hopefully it doesn't, but we will have to see. Anyway, I'm going to build myself a villager breeder first off, and we will bring you guys back in once I've got it built. Alright, so where there once was a wall, there is now a door. And just before we get going, I just want to say real quick that right now the thing seems to be is to complain about your limited inventory. Every Minecraft YouTuber that I watch right now, every time they do a big project, they want to complain about how much the inventory Minecraft sucks. And I just want to say, all you have to do when you finish working with a particular product is go put it away. Just put it away, and then you're fine. If you're working with a bunch of different materials, bring a shulker box with you. Put it away. Like, there's solutions for the problems that you're having. Most of them are self-inflicted. Anyway, I decided I wanted to use a train door just because I like these, and we probably won't get to use trains in this, but look how cool that animation is. Anyway, I'm going to do something with this hallway, make it a little bit nicer, but we now have a villager breeder set up here. This is just a standard vanilla villager breeder. You know, use moss carpet because I have it, and we should have plenty of room for the villagers up in there. I probably want to put some lights up there, but we can do that. And we've got a water source here so the baby villagers won't take any damage when they fall down. And I popped a chest down here where I can store any villagers. So we're going to go ahead and head up here to the top before we put them in. Let me put lights in so it's not quite so dark in here. But we want to drop our villagers off, and the easiest way that I found to do this is if we flip this up, and we can shift click right there, and then they go right where they should be, and then we can just back here and that back down. Now we do have to wait for them to sleep before they will actually breed, and again, I don't know if this is going to break. So this is pretty much going to be our experiment. If this villager breeder doesn't work because these guys won't sleep because it's always noon, then we're going to have to use the easy villager blocks in order to be able to actually use villagers. And I did look through the quest log here. There is nothing in here about villagers. There's nothing. You know, there's a few quests that we're going to have to clear out, but there is nothing in here that talks about villagers at all. So I really think that they're intending for you to use chickens for your resources and not villagers. But yeah, that's going to be the trick. So while I'm up here, I brought some potatoes, so we're going to go ahead and toss those out. Give you guys some potatoes, and I will leave you to your business. So you guys have fun up there. I'm going to go over here, and we'll see if that works or not. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to figure something else out. We can spy on them, too. So we are getting hearts. Hearts are good. Okay. Everything is working, so we're getting baby villagers. So clearly whatever the mod pack designer is doing is more than just the game rule to stop time from moving. They've gone in and they've actually made they're using a mod or something to freeze time that still allows you to sleep and allows villagers to count as having slept, because they won't breed unless they've actually slept normally. Now, obviously, the one that really makes a difference is iron farms, since they can't produce iron golems unless they've slept. But we don't need to make an iron farm because we have way more iron than we will probably ever use, just from the generators that we have. Like it's literally maxed out. It is capped. I need to fix that. I'm gonna fix that real quick. In the meantime, we're gonna get started on the next project. So that's going to be building the storage system. All right, so the next project that we are going to work on is building ourselves up an actual storage system. So as you can see, I've cleared out a good amount of space down here. We're underneath. This is where the smelter is. The actual smelter is over here. And as you can see, I've dug some tunnels that go to the various storage floor controllers. See the one that's right there, so we can actually get our network all hooked up and connected together. I also went ahead and built the controllers for refined storage and applied energistics, because we are still going to have to go through both of them, go down the trees for both, and get everything all set up. Or not set up, we're going to have to build the various components for each one to complete the quests. We're gonna have to build each of both of them to complete all of the quests, but I'm only gonna set one of them up. There's no real reason to set both of them up. As of the recording of this video, there are 0 comments on the previous video. So I'm gonna pick. And since I haven't done it in a while, I'm gonna go with applied energistics. So we're gonna pick you up, and we'll pop you into a chest, and then I'm gonna get some stuff going with applied energistics. Alright, so the first thing that we're gonna need to do as we get ourselves setting up for applied energistics is we need to start setting up these sequenced recipes for the various types of processors, and they all have basically the same setup, where it's a logic circuit that comes in, and then the silicon gets deployed onto it, the redstone dust gets deployed onto it, and then they are compressed, or whatever you would call that. They're stomped with the stompy thing. This is, of course, different than vanilla applied energistics, which uses the inscribers. The inscribers have been disabled in this pack, so we have to use the sequenced crafting instead. And obviously I did already get some of this set up ahead of time in order to be able to make the controller, because you do need engineering and calculation processors to do that. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up an automated craft for all of them that we're going to be able to tie into our applied energistics system, which will then allow us to just request these without having to run around the place making everything by hand. Now, there's two different ways that we could set this up. Since everything that is deployed is the same, it's a printed silicon, redstone dust, and then the stompy bit. So if we do that, you can see that the only thing that changes is what goes into it. We could just set this sequence up and have it be the same every time, with the only difference then being which printed circuit goes in. If we do that, then we have to set up a separate sequence to craft the printed circuits, because you see those are also made with a deployer. However, we could also set it up where one deployer does the whole sequence, or one sequence does the whole process. So we start with a deployer to make the printed circuit, and then we move on to adding the printed silicon, redstone dust, and crush them all together. Obviously, we're also going to have one that is going to be doing the printed silicon on its own, and that's just literally the same thing, where we have a deployer that's just doing the silicon, but that one isn't going to be nearly as hard. And since that's a single event that just happens, we can kind of tuck it away on its own over in a corner somewhere. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to combine these together. So we're going to have one deployer to create the printed logic circuit, another one to deploy the silicon, another one for redstone dust, and then mechanical press. We're going to have a mechanical press at the end, which means I'm going to need 3 deployers and a mechanical press, so I need enough room for 4 devices on the belt. And I'm building this right here next to where I have my precision mechanisms set up. And it should be, I think we're going to have enough space, because we're going to need a place for the raw materials to get added, and then we can do the first deployer, the second deployer, third deployer, compy bit, and then, yep, okay. So I'm going to work on getting these built. We're going to do basically 1, 2, 3 right across here, and then I'll probably put the printed circuit creator, or the printed silicon creator, kind of over in the corner, because again, that's just going to be a deployer on depot, and we'll use some filters to make sure that we're getting silicon in and printed circuits out for that one. And then we'll just allow, we'll let Applied Energistics put that where it needs to go. I'm going to keep working. See you in a bit. One thing that I also wanted to point out is that obviously to make these deployers, we're going to need these electron tubes. We're going to need these electron tubes, which are polished rose quartz. And the typical way that you make them is by, doing it by hand with some sandpaper, or you can get a deployer to put the sandpaper down for you. But then you go through sandpaper, because you got to keep making sandpaper. I don't know. It must be this pack. Maybe it's a mechanism thing. But you can also just pop the rose quartz into an enrichment chamber, which is very handy. So I can take my 9 rose quartz, pop them in here, and it'll just make the polished quartz that I need for the enrichments, which is handy. And you can speed those up. So this is going to end up moving back here once we get things setting up and we're starting to automate stuff. But for now, this is where it lives. Honestly, this mechanism enrichment chamber is like the best thing that you can have in a pack with Applied Energistics in it, because there's so many things that you can do here. Obviously, we could throw these quartz seeds in water and let them sit for 20 minutes, or you can just pop them in an enrichment chamber and get them done in 15 seconds. All right, so obviously we don't have meteorites in this pack, so how do we get the actual presses? It's easier than you might think. So obviously you can make, additionals by taking a block of iron and the existing press, which doesn't really help, because it's always been a recipe that I think is mostly intended for multiplayer packs, where one person has all the presses and somebody else is trying to get their network set up so they can make duplicates for them. But we can also just take whatever we use in the press. So for the logic press, it's gold. For the calculation press, I clicked the right thing. For the calculation press, it's a Certus quartz, and for the engineering press, it's a diamond. and it makes the actual press. So we've got my deployer here. I'll put the iron blocks down there, and we'll give it a gold ingot. And we'll give it a Certus quartz crystal. And there we go. There's the 2 presses that I need. And I got the advancement unknown technology. I should have gotten that one before. Ah, you only get it for all of them. That would be why. But anyway, these guys are going to go down here. And you see I've already got this one set up because I have had a calculation press already. So, or engineering already. So he's right there. And this will be, the diamond will come down, get stopped by there. Get the silicon placed there, a redstone here, and then stompy bit, and then we got to put a chest here at the end to receive everything. I'm going to go ahead and put the logic here. You don't need to filter it because I'm just going to give it to them, and these presses don't get consumed. So we can just give the hand to it, and that'll actually stop it from constantly trying to poke the belt as well. So that's basically it. These are our setups that we have for the different systems. Obviously, I still need to start automating these things so that it can do it on its own, and we're not going to have to keep worrying about... I don't have to come over here and deploy everything, but that's going to be once we get the network set up. I can have I can run... Whoa, that was weird. Once we get the network set up, I can run interfaces into these chests up here to drop the item that we'll need. I've got a setup over here that we're going to do so that I can just have printed silicon just available, and we'll just deploy them into these various things. So we can actually take a export bus and attach it directly to each of these hands. So these 2 for that, these 2 for that, and it will just fill up 1 stack's worth of that material. So we don't have to worry about having it continuously running and having or we don't have to provide the silicon and the redstone to the recipe when we want a printed circuit. We can just give it the raw material because the redstone and the silicon will already be over here waiting for it. At least that's my plan. All right, and then that was the last little bit that I needed to get set up. I have some drawers here at the end. I like using drawers because it gives us a visual display for what we have. Once we actually get this set up with automated crafting, we're not going to be really using these drawers too much because the processors will just get sucked straight out into the network to be used for whatever it is that we're going to use them for. I don't think I'll have just a stockpile of them sitting here. I could. We do have the stockpile switches, so I could set up a system where I have a stockpile switch attached to each of the drawers, and then the system automatically runs whenever the processors start getting low, and we could do that purely using create. But I'd prefer to do on-demand stuff because it just seems like it works better and is a little bit cleaner that way. So you guys don't need to watch me go through and run cables for everything and get everything all hooked together, all the different storage nodes everywhere, which is mostly over here, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because we have that controller there, which covers... actually, I can just show you. So I have my linking tool. If I click this, you can see that covers right there. I've also got one in there that's got honey blocks in it for a bee setup that I will show you in the next episode, as well as these 2 over here. So obviously we have the blaze rods, the eggs, and then the chicken components connected as well. I also have a storage controller over here, which has the various metals, the different drops from the plants, as well as my cobblestone and my sheep over there. The last one that we have is this guy right here, which again has the wool, and then some more bee products, which again I will show you what I've done through here in the next episode. Speaking of, I'm going to work on wiring up the Applied Energistics system, and I will see you guys in the next episode. So make sure that you hit the like button. if you enjoyed watching the video. Subscribe so you don't miss the video when it goes live, because we're probably going to do some more questions, some more which one do you think that I should work on first. You want to make sure that you get in and comment on those videos right away. I try to give enough space in between, but if I want to keep a weekly upload, I've got to kind of keep making videos. I don't really have time to wait too long in between videos if I want to get stuff done. Anyway, I hope that you're having yourselves a wonderful day, whatever time of day it is for you. Hope it's going well for you. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And whatever you do, don't you dare go hollow.